The number one responsibility of a leader is to create other leaders. Hello, and welcome to the sixth and final lesson of equipping others for success. Let's do a quick review of the previous lessons of the 5 pillars and steps we have discussed so far. Step 1 is where you or I do the work ourselves, and as we do it, we must set the example for others. So, I do it. I model the behaviors I desire to see my team to carry out. Step 2 is the recruiting step, and it's where choose someone to do what I have modeled. At step 3, phase 3, I am still doing the work, and the person or group of people I chose are with me, and this is the training phase. They are watching and listening as I model the work, explain the process, and answer the trainees' questions. This phase is often confused with the next step, but there is a big difference that equippers sometimes miss, and it makes all of the difference. You see, the first 3 phases, you or I are actually still doing the task at hand, and the person we chose at step 2 is with us observing. This next step, the role changes, and the work being done switches to that person we are training. We now are in the coaching role. We are still with them, but they are doing the work at this phase. We now watch and observe, giving needed direction and feedback. When the person being equipped is recruited and sent out to do the work without proper training, the coaching step is difficult for both parties. Remember, people need a model to go by and a person to show them what to do before being told what to do. That old saying that people don't always do what they hear, but do what they see is true in the equipping process too. At this stage, the leaders we have invested in are now equipping others. So, pillar number 6 is where they do it and someone is with them. The reproduction stage of equipping others. Del Galloway said, "Some leaders want to make followers. I want to make leaders. Not only do I want to make leaders, but I also want to make leaders of leaders, and then leaders of leaders of leaders." As a leader, following this process is how he or she fulfills their role by creating another leader. Leaders aren't simply born. We are all born. Some are born with gifts and tendencies, but great leaders must be developed regardless of how much gifting a person has. I've seen leaders in a position to cause great harm that possess tremendous tendencies to be out front and leading. But remember, when summing up what leadership is, it boils down to influence. Great leaders take people where they need to go. Bad leaders take people where they want them to go. I think of Stalin and Hitler when I think of that kind of leadership. It took some great leaders to turn around the damage those two created, and people are still working to break the negative consequences and impact they caused. Great leaders grow in stature and influence to make a lasting and positive impact on the future. There is an answer and a process of how to have a generational impact when developing leadership. This applies to families, school, church, community, and any area of life. Here's the truth of the matter. The only thing limiting the future of people in any of those areas and organizations is the number of good leaders it develops. This requires intentionality and a strategy. Isn't this what good leaders are good at? The place to start is what number 1 in your guide states. We must get our leaders developing other leaders. But how do we do it? Start with this process you just learned. Teach them the 6 steps, pillars, and ask them to repeat them. When I say them, I mean your family members, leaders of your church or house of worship, your school, your workplace, or your volunteer organization. Challenge them to pass on what they learn about this process in leadership meetings. Ask them to tell you who they shared it with. Be accountable to the steps by holding them accountable. As leaders, if we aren't modeling these behaviors, we have no credibility or moral authority to ask others to do so. Strive to be an accountable leader. A leadership development culture is modeled from the top, but grown from the bottom up. It must be modeled from the top, and clear expectation must be communicated that everyone in the organization is to mentor someone else. As a team, organizational, or family leader, you not only have the privilege of setting the expectations, you have a responsibility too. That means modeling it before speaking it. Communication is not always about words. Remember, people usually do what they see. That's what modeling does, it communicates. Culture will always develop, either unintentionally or intentionally. The best leaders are intentional. Therefore, they lead the best organizations. The best leaders understand that you must grow yourself out of a job. This is the reproduction principle, and the only thing holding a leader back from is fear and insecurity. An insecure leader can't reproduce good leaders. Not developing leaders is a sure sign of an insecure leader, fearful of losing their position or title. But the best leaders understand that position or title doesn't make a leader. No, influence does. And when a leader is intentional about using his or her influence to grow a leader who can fill their position, knows that another position will always be available to them if they want it. Look at number 2 in your guide. The best equippers understand that intimacy is required in order for things to multiply. If we want a reproducing culture, we have to think about the closeness of the people we are trying to lead. As a leader, we have a lot of open exposure to people, but there are some things that are hidden to most of them. People are attracted to sincerity, and as the equipper, don't come off as an expert who knows everything, because you don't. You may know a lot of things, but proving you do to your team is demoralizing and comes off as condescending. A secure leader who wants to reproduce another leader is intentional about pointing out what the other person knows, rather than trying to impress them with what they know. That person we are equipping usually assumes we know a lot, even if we don't. But they need us to build their confidence, not the other way around. The fresh eyes of those we equip can help us learn some things too. So allow them to point out things that you do that are holding them back. That takes a huge amount of humility and a sincere desire to grow ourselves to allow that type of vulnerability. We all have blind spots, and a blind spot is called a blind spot for a reason. There are always things about us that we are unaware of that others are. Having good relationships with others requires us to have people we trust reveal those blind spots to us. We should have trusted the person or people we recruited, so we must be vulnerable enough to do this. Be a courageous leader. Be vulnerable enough to trust your people. None of us see everything, quote, the right way. That's because we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. You might have to think about that one for a while like I did, but I found it to be true. Number 3 in your guide, who would you allow to point out your blind spots? It takes a high degree of desire to grow and vulnerability to receive constructive advice. Being intentional to do so will lessen the pain of it over time and set you free. Remember, if we want to multiply ourselves, we have to go to deeper levels of intimacy in our relationships. I know that sounds touchy-feely, and I don't want you to misunderstand. There are things that we don't want to and shouldn't disclose about ourselves on a personal level, but in regards to the workplace, there are levels of intimacy we need to get comfortable with. For more understanding, I highly suggest you do some personal study about the Johari window. Being together and growing together has unlimited possibilities as long as we all know we all need to grow. All of us are growing, and all of us will always continue to grow. As we close out this series, remember the 4 qualities I shared with you as an example you can model for your team. 1. Maintain passion. 2. Value people, all people. 3. Pursue excellence because excellence creates comfort. 4. Choose the attitude you want to see in your organization. Model it and set the expectation for it. One more time, here is the 6-step process for equipping others. Pillar number 1. I do it. I model the behaviors, values, and qualities I desire for my team. Pillar number 2. I choose people to do it. In other words, I recruit others. Pillar number 3. I do it. I do the task, and they are with me. Observing and asking questions, and this is the training phase. This is not the coaching phase because I am still doing the task while the recruit is with me. After both parties are comfortable with transferring the actual doing of the task, we now move to pillar number 4, the coaching phase. They now do the task, and I am with them. I am now coaching by observing and directing. After they are proficient at doing the task, we now move to pillar number 5, where they do it. And because they are now empowered to do the work on their own, we stay available for them if they need assistance, but for the most part, they are now capable of working on their own, or with the team, doing their part. And finally, we get to pillar number 6. They do it, and someone is with them. They are now in the reproduction phase, creating another leader. The cycle repeats because we have set the expectation that we are all equippers on our team. Here's something interesting to leave you with. Leadership within the FEMA organization says a leader can effectively lead only 6 to 7 people directly. If a leader mentors and develops 7 people, and those 7 people mentor and develop 7 people, the leader can now effectively lead 49 people. That's one person now leading 7 teams of 7. Now, imagine 49 people mentoring and leading 7 people each. 49 times 7 equals 343 equipped people. That's reproduction of leadership at its best. That might not be possible for all of us, but it's a lofty ideal to shoot for. Earl Nightingale said that success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile idea. So, whatever progress we can continually make toward that model of leadership multiplication is our success. Thank you for joining me and crossing the finish line with me. Be on the lookout for the next leadership series, the 4th series, and the A in clear. Attitude is the difference.